Project Hail Mary is special. Now, look, I freaking love movies. And when I first saw this movie, I thought what so many other people thought, which was this is really one of those movies that reminds you why you love going to the movie theater and just reminds you why you love movies in general. However, after that, I started to ask myself the question, what was this movie trying to say? And for a movie that clearly had so much heart and soul put into it and was very much trying to convey a message, it didn't click with me right away. But then, after 2 days, it finally hit me. To me, this is a movie about literally and metaphorically being forced out of your comfort zone in order to grow. And what I love about this movie is that it asks us, the audience, the question, what if it works? Or, in other words, it tells us to take the risk. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of the main character, Grace. You wake up on a spaceship and realize that you've been physically drugged and forced onto a one-way mission where you have to go collect data from a completely different planet in order to maybe have a chance at saving Earth. Oh, also, the rest of your crew died, so you're alone, in space, completely by yourself, until you meet Rocky, but we'll talk about him later. So at this point in time, you think you're unqualified. I mean, back on Earth, you were a middle school teacher. You have no immediate family or friends or anyone who really supported you or anything like that. Oh, and also, you're a brilliant scientist, but you wouldn't know that because you never give yourself enough credit. You write what you think is a lousy article on how to save Earth, and then when the government gets a hold of it, they realize you might be onto something. So they come find you. They ask for your help, but you say no and run away because you are afraid. Also, that part's kind of unrealistic. Typically, if you know something the government doesn't, they'll either steal your information or try and get you to sell your soul to make you famous. But anyway, I'm speaking too much truth. So you're afraid, and after the government finally convinces you, you agree to help. You agree to help, and you become probably the biggest asset on what is the most important research project in the history of the world at this point in time. And when the only other scientist they have blows up, they choose you to carry out the space mission. So afraid and thinking you're unqualified, you say no. I'm not an astronaut. I put the not in astronaut.
I put the not in astronaut. I've never done anything. I've never done a spacewalk. I can't even moonwalk.
But the government doesn't take no for an answer. So like I said earlier, they drug you and they force you onto this mission. Also, that part is probably more realistic. You know, the government doesn't take no for an answer. They'll probably typically just like MK Ultra you or something like that. But yeah, you already know. Anyway, they force you onto this mission. And look, they know it's a long shot and that there's a really good chance it won't work. It's a Hail Mary, if you will. But to them, you're worth the risk. So now what about you? You're up in space and you think you're a dead man either way. You don't want to die. You're afraid to die. That being said, you don't know what you're living for. But then you meet Rocky and everything changes. Like you, Rocky is trying to save his planet. He's alone because his entire crew died. He's also afraid. But unlike you, yes, he's this rock looking alien, but he chose this mission. He chose to take the risk because he has something worth fighting for back at home. He has friends, and more importantly, he has a mate. He has a spouse. Honestly, my favorite line in the movie has to be when Rocky tells Grace that he's been with his mate for 186.3 years. And Grace says, "That's a long time." And Rocky goes, "Not long enough." Me personally, I feel that. When you find someone you love so much, no matter how long you've been with them, you'll do anything to just fight for more time to be with that person. So now you and Rocky agree to help each other. And through this, you develop this really amazing, unlikely friendship and create this really, really close bond with each other. You teach each other new things and offer each other a whole new perspective on life. Both of you are willing and almost even do make the ultimate sacrifice for each other, just like in John 15:13. So you have these two characters who both took the risk. Grace was forced into taking the risk, and Rocky chose to take the risk. But it's not really about whether they chose to or didn't choose to. The fact that the risk was taken ended up being the best thing for both of these characters. For Grace, the what if it works worked. And I'm not talking about how he collected the data he needed to save Earth. I'm talking about how by taking the risk and through the mission, he found his purpose. He found acceptance and he found a best friend. He's a guy who, at the beginning of the movie, thought he was nothing, thought he had nothing, and ended up finding everything up with him in space. And for Rocky, the what if it works also works. He saves his planet, his friends, and now he gets to be with his mate, whom he clearly loves so much. And he also gets to welcome home his new friend, Grace. So if you've been looking for a sign, here it is. Take the risk, because what if it works? All right, that would have been the perfect spot to end the video. So if you take anything away from this video, please have it be that, because that is the main message. Take the risk, because what if it works? By taking a small chance, you can positively change the entire trajectory of your life. But if you know me, I'm going to talk about two more things, and that's the cinematography and the biblical application. Look, when I saw this movie in theaters, I was like, dang, this movie looks good. Like, this is awesome use of CGI. It doesn't feel too rushed like it does in so many modern blockbusters. But then after seeing it, I realized that almost everything you see in that movie was done practically without computer generated effects. It was all done on an actual set. And when I found out who the cinematographer was, I was like, okay, it makes sense that this movie looks good. Because it's none other than Greg Fraser, who shot my favorite movie, The Batman. Almost every shot in Project Hail Mary means something. It's telling us something about the character. It's enhancing the moment so that we feel like we're part of the journey with the characters. And as someone who, one of my favorite parts about movies is the cinematography, I think this movie nails it. So many movies nowadays kind of just have a bland, medium shot after medium shot, maybe something cool here and there. But you could tell that this movie was really trying to say something, not just with the story, but with the camera. And I love it. And I think so many movies miss out on that nowadays. And it's refreshing to see a movie do it. But enough about the cinematography. Now back to the deep stuff. Let's talk about the biblical application. So another thing I love about movies is that almost every movie you see has some kind of biblical theme to it, whether it's intentional or not. And in Project Hail Mary's case, there's two themes that stuck out to me the most. One of the themes I kind of mentioned earlier when I said John 15:13, which says, "There is no greater love than this, that one should lay down their life for their friends." And in Project Hail Mary, this is seen very clearly. Grace and Rocky develop such a good friendship with each other that they're both literally willing to die for each other. And we see it from each of them at different points in the movie where they literally lay their life on the line trying to save the other. And this verse, that representation in the movie, is one of the most pure forms of love as described in the Bible. And I just think that's great. The other biblical theme that sticks out to me is how so often the Most High will call the ones who think they are unqualified. A great Bible story that goes with this example, in my opinion, is the story of Gideon. We're talking about a farmer who was afraid, and the Most High called him to be a warrior and help lead and literally save an entire nation from oppression. And similar to Grace in Project Hail Mary, he thought they got the wrong guy, but they didn't. And through faith, Gideon learned how strong he was and did help save Israel from the oppression that they were in at the time. Similar to how Grace didn't think he was qualified, but through his journey, learned that he was and helped save Earth. So next time you're doubting yourself or think a task is too big for you, remember it's never too big for the one who created you. And if you trust in him and take the risk, you'll do things beyond what you ever thought possible. For those who haven't seen Project Hail Mary, go see it. It's a great watch. And for those who have seen it, you already know why it's really special. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you all.